Hello, hello. I am so excited to share with you today all about your lead gen strategy. So let me go ahead and pull up my presentation and get right to the point. Present. Here we are. So today we are going to find our ideal lead gen strategy to market your business and make more money. My name is Lindsay Dollinger. It is so great to meet you if we have not yet met. I am a dog mama, world traveler, a Disney adult. You'll see lots of pictures of me with Disney characters in this presentation or in my content. And I am the podcast host of the Purpose, Profits, and Pixie Dust podcast. I'm also a retreat host and a lead generation expert, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And a little bit about how I got started. I actually got started first before this as a travel agent and a travel blogger, and then I joined my first network marketing company, grew it really high up in the ranks, and then I unfortunately got what's the right word, told to leave, which is a story for another day. But then I joined another company, rinsed and repeat, and grew that network marketing business to the top less than 1% of my company, and have won the trips, got over six figures in revenue pretty simply. And people started asking me how I was doing it, what I was doing. And I started coaching women, not just in network marketing, but also in non-network marketing businesses, because I realized that the lead generation, which is what we're going to talk about today, was the missing piece. Are you able to build a community? Are you able to put out social media if the social media is your thing? For some people, it's not. We're going to talk about that today. Are you able to, just meet new people and convert them into clients? And lead generation is one of the, I would say, the things that most people struggle with, but they don't even realize it's what they're struggling with. So we are going to get that all solved today for you so that you can get new leads and convert them into clients ASAP. So here's what you can expect from our presentation. First of all, you're going to understand the four core lead generation strategy types and which ones you are. If you want to go ahead and take the quiz, it is at lindsaydollinger.com/quiz. But then at the end, I'll have a QR code for you to do it then. Or if you want to pause this, take the quiz, find out what your type is, and come back, you're welcome to do that as well. The second thing that we're going to learn is we're going to dive into what those four strategies are and how you can apply them to your business. And then third, we are going to learn how to stay consistent and get results with whichever strategy type we are. So let me start off by saying that I could do an 8-week mastermind on each one of these four types. So this is going to be a super high overview. And if you haven't done the quiz yet, you'll probably be able to tell which of the four types maybe that you are, or maybe, narrow it down between the two on where you tend to, what's the word, gravitate. But then maybe you aren't necessarily doing some of these core actions underneath that could really help you take that to the next level. But I still encourage you to take the quiz. Here's the four types. So you are either a social media maven, an email marketing prodigy, a live event leader, or an automation ace. So this means that if you're a social media maven, you are really drawn to being social online, social media, creating content for social media, interacting with people on social media. And there are some people that really love this, and there are some people that really hate this. The other type you could be email marketing prodigy, like what it sounds like. You either, if you haven't yet, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but you love sending out emails. You love building a community via email, or you want to love to build a community via email because you know that emails help convert people way quicker than social media does. And so email marketing, you can have automation set up in your emails, all sorts of things that we can do in the inbox and not necessarily spend as much time on social. The third type is a live event leader. Now, if you get this kind, I don't want you to freak out because you're like, I would never love to be on a stage, or I don't really even like in-person events. It doesn't have to be in person. When I'm saying live event, I'm really meaning an automation event. So this could be, hosting a webinar, a workshop, challenge online. Any of these can be online. It can be in person. It can be hybrid. I mentioned I do retreats. It's actually a picture of one of my retreats because I do a yearly retreat down in Disney World. And I didn't start with that though, right? Like I started, I think my first retreat, I know my first retreat was in 2020 because we had to reschedule it. It was supposed to be May 2020. Ended up moving it to October 2020. It still was a little bit stressful with everything going on in the world, but we made it work. We made it happen. And then I fell in love with doing the retreats. But before I ever did in-person events like that, I did online events. So we'll talk about that. And then the fourth one is Automation Ace. Now, the thing I want you to be careful with Automation Ace is it's really hard to be an automation ace and really step into that without already being an expert of one of these three, because you have to get leads somewhere. Now, I will also say that one of the things that we're going to talk about in Automation Ace is that one of the things that you can automate is ads. Ads are great and they can really provide massive impact in your business. However, you need to have a concept, so a product or a service that you know already works and converts in order to be able to run profitable ads. So there's a little caveat with that one. All right, some quick reminders before we dive into these four types is that your lead strategy can change. So I want you to keep an open mind about this as you hear it. Maybe the way you answered the quiz is the way like you want to be, but it's not quite where you are at right now. You know, sometimes we do that with personality tests. I don't know if you've ever taken one of those online and you get the results and maybe you share it with someone and they're like, that's not you. And you're like, okay, well, I was answering it how I want to be, maybe not exactly how I am. So your lead strategy can change. And just like with everything in our business, it can pivot, it can grow with us, and it can evolve with us. So just be open to that. Maybe right now you're a social media maven. Maybe next year is going to be your time to really step into being an email marketing prodigy. Eventually, I believe a well-rounded business is going to incorporate all four lead generation strategies. So we're not going to build all four at once, especially if you are newer in business and maybe you don't even have an email list yet. You've never played around with Facebook ads, you know, different things like that. We're going to start with one and get really good at one and then start to build up the other four until we can have them be almost like equal weight in our business, but it's not going to happen at once. So we're going to pick one to dive into if you get a tie. So I'm actually tied between live event leader and social media maven. However, I really love automations and delegations and things like that as well. So pick one you know, if you do get that tie. I do have seven, I believe it's 7 questions, so it shouldn't be a tie. But if you get your answer and you're like, I really feel drawn toward, you know, my second place, that's totally fine. Okay. So, oops, I didn't take that one off there. So the four types, here we go. Social media maven. If you hit social media maven, or if you haven't taken the quiz yet and you're like, I love social media, I think that's probably what I am. This means that you are meant to stand out online with your content. This could mean doing lives or doing videos to really stand out and take your content to the next level. If you're a Facebook junkie, I'm a huge Facebook fan. I've grown the majority of my business on Facebook. This could be having your own Facebook group. I actually have multiple Facebook groups for different facets in my business. And I love having Facebook groups. I love putting content in them. I love interacting with people in them. I love building a community in them. It's just kind of where I have found that I shine. This could also be if you're not ready for your own Facebook group, or maybe you feel like you don't have time to do that right now, having a Facebook group strategy. So maybe you're going to be spending 15 minutes a day or 15 minutes a week in 3 Facebook groups that you have found that your target audience or your niche of people hang out in, so that you can provide value, so that you can meet new friends. And then I always also encourage, if you do this strategy, to pick one group that has nothing to do with your product or service, but maybe your ideal people like. So like I'm a huge Disney fan, so I'm in a ton of Disney groups. That doesn't necessarily have a ton really to deal with. Like there are a ton of Disney people, right, who do not have online businesses and could care less about lead gen. So it's not always going to be interactions that get me a direct ROI, but it could be people who, once they, you know, maybe we start chatting and they start following me and they start seeing what I do and they're like, oh my gosh, my sister has an Etsy shop. She should totally join your mastermind, or she should totally come to your next Disney retreat. Or heck, I've been thinking about maybe starting something, you know what I mean? So you never know where that connection could go. So I just really want to remind you about that with Facebook groups. or really anything online. And then the other piece of a social media maven's strategy is making sure that you're interacting on stories and in the DMs. Like, we are using social media for all it is worth. We are being super social, like it says, because our net worth is our net. No, our network, I was right the first time. Our network is our net worth. There we go. So, making sure that we are continually building our network, if you are a social media maven, is going to really help you stand out. What can you do that is different? How can you share your story authentically and share it over and over and over again so that people get to know you, love you, and trust you? And then you're also going to be telling them how they can work with you. That's a huge piece with a social media maven. Okay, let's talk about email marketing prodigies. So, I do believe everyone should have an email marketing strategy, regardless of whether this is your lead gen type or not. But for my email marketing prodigies, you are diving into email. Like, your email game is going to be on point by the time we get done with this. So, selling in emails, this is your style. You will have a social media presence, most likely. You will probably do some sort of automation events, and you will definitely have automation set up in your email, like an automation ace would, but your primary selling style is going to be in your emails. But in order to do this, first, we get to build a community via email. How are you going to build that community? Lots of the same methods that we talked about with the social media mavens, with telling your story, sharing tips and strategies and value, making sure to pepper things in, making people excited about things. So, doing a countdown, sending countdowns maybe at the bottom of your emails to your next big launch of something, giving people a sneak peek, sending pictures of you with your family and something that you did this weekend, if that fits in part of your brand. I send a weekly Monday morning email. The original purpose of that actually was to share my podcast episode for the day, because I launch a podcast every Monday. But I have moved the podcast info kind of toward the middle or the bottom of the email. Lots of times I will pepper it in throughout the email, but I start my emails on Monday more like a newsletter style, where I am sharing, something that I did that weekend, what's going on in my life, something that happened the past week, something that I've learned, something that's going really great in my business, something that is not going great in my business, all sorts of things. I had a really awful accident and I broke my ankle. And so during part of my recovery for probably a good, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, I was mentioning something about, how my recovery was going, if I was able to walk yet, because I wasn't able to walk for 3 months. And it was a really challenging time. And me being vulnerable about that and sharing that with my community, I know helped strengthen my community. Um, so the other piece with email marketing is making sure that, one, we are consistent with it, and two, we have a plan with it. So if this is your strategy, your main strategy, we're not just going to be able to throw spaghetti at the wall and hope something sticks, right? This will be something that we're going to sit down, we're going to have a spreadsheet or a Trello board. I'm a huge fan of Trello, and we are going to map out, this is some email sequences that I'm going to create when someone subscribes to my newsletter. This is a lead magnet I'm going to create that is going to walk people through, a buying process or create funnels that way. So if this is all over your head because maybe you got email marketing prodigy and you don't even have an email list yet, step one, girlfriend, is to get that email list. So we are going to sign up for an email provider. If you want, what's the word? My words are escaping me today. If you want suggestions, I was going to say strategies, and I'm like, that's not it. If you want suggestions on email marketing providers, I am happy to share those with you. I personally use Kajabi for everything. So my website, my email marketing, all of that. And I do have a free 30-day trial. If you want to reach out to me, I can give you that link. But if I didn't have Kajabi, I actually have Kit, formerly ConvertKit, for my travel business. And then I have also used Flowdesk and really liked Flowdesk. So there are other options if you are not a Kajabi user. But step one for this is going to be getting an email list and starting to get people on your email list. And then we're going to start sending out some emails. Okay. And like I said, this is a super broad overview. When you take the quiz, you're actually going to get a roadmap for your type emailed to you and like little tips. There's a little video that'll be sent to you. So, I know I'm going fast because, like I said, this is a lot of information. So stay with me. The third type is live event leader. So again, I want to stress to you that this doesn't necessarily have to be in person. A lot of times it is. And I have found we are in the time where people are craving more and more in person. We love the Zoom calls, and the Zoom is great for if our community can't come to us. But if we can do some of these in person events, I promise you, you are going to be able to transition people from leads to clients that much quicker. And if it can't be in person, then doing it via Zoom where people can actually interact and get to know each other and ask questions and get to know your vibe and your personality is going to help them convert even quicker than if you completely leave this out. So even if you're a social media maven, email marketing, whatever, you can still do a live event. So I call it live event, but also activation events is another word for this because we are activating people. We are moving them from a prospect or someone in our cold audience to someone in our warm audience, and we're activating them to hopefully become a client. So this is probably you if you shine at events, whether they're online or in person, if you are the one who's always signing up to go to them, if you love in-person networking. Now, I will be the first one to admit, because I said this is my type, I don't always love in-person networking, and I can also often be talked out of going to an event like this. Um, so if you are an introvert, if you are, I'm a projector in human design, if you know that, we don't always love to people. So make sure if this is you that you also know when you need to schedule in your rest time or your breaks, your downtime, so that when you do have these, you're able to show up 110% and people are able to really get your energy because you don't want to show up at these, with your tank half empty, right? So, one thing that you can do as a live event leader, because you do love connecting, is consider what conferences and summits and workshops and things like that that you can attend in person. These are huge. These can make connections with other entrepreneurs specifically, but just other people in like interests as you, building our network. The other thing of it, it's not good enough just to go to them, but I want you to consider activation events that you yourself could host. So this could be a challenge, a workshop, info nights, trivia, game nights. I don't always call them workshops or challenges, but like a 3-day event or a 1-day event, a 5-day event where I am teaching, I am leading, I am the expert, and I'm showing people how to get some sort of small win, some little taste of what it's like to work with me in these events in order to move them quicker to be able to become a client of mine. ChatGPT, this is like another tip that's not in here, is a great place to go to if you want some ideas for what this could look like for you and your business. Just tell the ChatGPT what your goal is, maybe some things that you're good at, what you would like to host, and say, I'm open to a 3-day workshop or a 5-day, and they'll give you titles, it'll give you outlines, all sorts of things. Okay. And then the last one is Automation Ace. We're going to talk about this the least because, like I said, Automation Ace usually is for people who have perfected one of the first three. And then you're ready to take it to the next level. Now, if you got this and you're like, okay, I haven't perfected one of the first three, but I got Automation Ace. It's most likely because you are answering on how you would love your business to look like down the road, but not necessarily where you are right now, which is okay. It's totally fine. So some things in Automation Ace, and if you got this on your quiz, you will make sure you read the PDF because I have lots of different tools in there in the PDF. This is really going to depend on your business. So the easiest way that we can start being an Automation Ace is just by automating simple things in our business to save us time. So this might look like I have, for example, a Trello. It's my business blueprint, and it saves me so much time because everything that has to do with my business is in there. It is saved in there. I know what it is. I have everything set up, and that is one of the things that helps me automate my business is it's in there. Automation could also look like once you make your posts on Canva, you go ahead and you schedule them to post on your different social media. This could also be creating email welcome sequences or follow-up sequences, or once someone has booked a call with you in Calendly or TidyCal, or I forget what there's several of those, but booked a call with you that you have automation set up that automatically sends them a confirmation. Maybe it'll send them reminders, different things like that to save you time. So there are lots of these we can do before we dive into the next pieces on here. So ads. Ads is another one. Like I said with ads, once you have a proven business concept, ads are a great thing for you to go ahead and dive into and start playing around with. There's lots of free um I don't know if I call them courses, but workshops and webinars about how to get ads started. I actually joined, I forget the name of their two programs, but some ads programs last year with their names are Paul and Melissa Pruitt. Highly recommend them. I have not met anyone who knows ads and has lots of different options for you, regardless of where you're at in your business to get started with ads. Just learning how to do them yourself. So if you want to learn how to do them yourself, highly recommend finding them. Paul and Melissa Pruitt, they have a podcast. They're everywhere. So anyway, that's a side note. No, they're not. I'm not getting referral bonuses or anything for referring them, but find someone who can help you navigate a little bit the ads managers because they can be a lot if you're not used to doing them. Okay, funnels. Funnels are another thing that we can automate. So for example, when you set up your webinar or your activation event, make sure that you get their email. And like I mentioned, I use Kajabi. So once someone registers for an event in Kajabi, I can have it automated that I send them different emails. The email might include the workbook. It might include the link to the Facebook group that I'm going to invite them to join so that I can run the actual event in Facebook to interact with people more in between sessions. It could also be sending out a follow-up email to them once the event is over. So there's lots that you can do with funnels specifically for webinars. Same deal with your lead magnet. So you'll notice when you take my quiz, lindsaydollinger.com/quiz, I have it automated that it's going to immediately send you the email with the PDF. And then 7 days later, you're going to get an email with a short video with another tip in it. So I have different things automated in order to keep showing up for my clients. You can do the same. And another automation that you can use that you've probably heard of if you're big in the Instagram, but you can also put it on Facebook as well, is ManyChat. Um, I have played around with ManyChat. I'll be honest, I haven't dived into it as much as I should have, but or should be doing currently. It is on my list for this year to do. But basically, what ManyChat will do is it'll set up automation. So I'm sure you've seen people say before, drop the word link in the comments and I'll send you the link for whatever. And then as soon as you type link, you automatically get a message. Well, that's not from that person. That's from a chat bot called ManyChat. And it is actually, I believe, the only one that is um, licensed to be able to use on Instagram and Facebook, and you're not going to get in trouble. So, but again, I want to remind you that your quiz results are going to email you a roadmap with 5 strategies for these types that are really you'll be able to pick and choose which one makes sense for you, and that you can really dive into today. Okay. One question, regardless of which of the 4 strategies that you got that I want to encourage you to think of is what journey do your clients take to get to you, to actually convert to a paying client? So a tip for this is to ask your current clients how they found you. So you might ask someone, do you even some people I'm like, do you even remember? Like, how did you find me the first time that we found each other? And it was like, oh, a friend of a friend had I sold LuLaRoe for a while. I had a LuLaRoe party with you and we got connected because you made a post in it about how you liked Disney or your dog or something like that, right? So that to me is like, okay, so I met them on social media, but then they ended up coming to a retreat of mine and then they ended up referring someone and then that person who they referred ended up being in my mastermind. So if you're able to kind of map this, you can see, okay, which areas of my lead gen strategies do I get to really focus on even more to strengthen those even more to bring in more clients that way? Okay, and now let's take some action on our strategies. So these are going to be some quick tips I'm going to run through. First of all, and this tip about being consistent goes with everything, right? But being consistent across your social media platforms, pick 1 or 2 tops to be your focused platforms. Repurpose your content whenever possible and make sure your content has a purpose. Figure out what consistent means to you. I did a podcast episode on this. Consistent is not constant. You do not have to constantly be on social media to be really good at social media. There's a lot of people I know with really strict boundaries that make, limited posts a week and do really, really well in their business. Another thing, start small. So if you're hearing this and you're feeling a little overwhelmed, pick one of the pieces that you get in your roadmap and get started with that today. One of them. You don't need to do all 5 of them, right? Or maybe you got Email Prodigy and you're going to start with your email list, but you heard something I said about social media that really triggered something for you. Pick one thing, do the one thing well, and then add on the other pieces. So for example, if this was you with email and you haven't emailed at all yet, anyone ever, maybe you're going to start with a monthly newsletter. That's what I did years ago. I started with a monthly newsletter because that seemed manageable to me. Nowadays, I do a weekly newsletter. Heck, sometimes I send out, usually I send out a Monday, a Friday, and then sometime through the week, I will send something out as well. And it comes so second nature to me. I can sit down and do an email in 5 minutes or less. So don't think that this is something that has to take you a ton of time, or it has to be weekly, or it has to be daily, or it has to be any sort of way. You get to decide, right? You get to decide. And then, like I said already with email, share a story. So people get to know you and they actually want to open your emails. If all your emails are sales all the time, they're probably not going to want to do that. If you got live event leader, or maybe you even didn't, but you're like, hey, an activation event sounds fun. Plan your first one. That could be your one thing that you're going to do. So I already gave you tips on how you could find out ideas if you don't already have an idea, but you can also poll your audience to see what they would be most interested in. Plan a date. Give people 7 to 10 days to sign up. I feel like that's a sweet spot. I've done some less than 7 days too, and they've been pretty successful as well. So, play around with this. It's all trial and error. Make sure you collect their emails because we're building our email list, but you also want to take those emails to send email reminders. Consider sending an email with the replay post event, and consider giveaways for being on live at your event, and also a giveaway maybe for inviting a friend. But the biggest thing with a live event is to have fun with it, bring your energy, give it your all, and do it even if no one shows up, or do it even if one person shows up, and give that person 110% of your energy. And then automation, your one thing. Pick how you can automate. One of the things that I emailed to you. Pick one. Don't do all of them right now, okay? Consider ads if you already have a proven concept. And if you don't, think about an activation event that you have held or emails that you have. Is there something that you could either repurpose or you could automate to show up better or to show up more presently with taking less of your time? I found this stat and I thought it was really good. 63% of marketers rank lead generation as their number one marketing challenge, according to the Demand Gen report. This doesn't have to be yours, because lead gen is something that once you find out your secret sauce, your specialty, you will be able to, I promise, grow your business 10-fold or even more by really leaning into it and going all in. So here's the QR code I promised you to take the quiz to find your strategy and make this a priority for you this year. Okay. And then here are all the ways you can connect with me. There's my email, my podcast, the Purpose Profits and Pixie Dust podcast, my website, and then my 2 Instagram accounts. My Purpose Profits and Pixie Dust is podcast, business, and then Lindsay Dollinger, business and just fun life stuff. So if you loved this presentation, or if you got something of value from it, please screenshot this, share it, tag me on Instagram. I would love to continue the conversation with you. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you take the quiz.